Pokémon, the highest grossing media franchise of all time, just turned 25 years old. I'm Nate Lanxon, and I'm going to explain how Bulbasaur and his friends helped build a $100 billion empire. Nintendo published the first Pokémon game on its Game Boy consoles in the spring of 1996, exclusively in Japan. But it was 6 years earlier that it was conceived by Satoshi Tajiri, a game developer in Tokyo whose childhood hobby was searching for and capturing insects and beetles in the wild. He'd wanted to be an entomologist, but after becoming involved in a nascent gaming industry, decided he wanted to recreate his childhood passion for exploring nature, but for modern city-bound children. The specific moment of inspiration, he said, was when he saw it was possible to link two of Nintendo's Game Boy consoles together with a cable. He pictured one of his beetles walking back and forth across the wire, and lo, Pokémon was conceived. It took another 6 years to develop what would become the first Pokémon games, Pocket Monsters Red and Green as they were known in Japan, and at the time there wasn't a great deal of confidence that it would be a hit. But Nintendo shifted more than 8 million copies of Pokémon in 2 years, becoming the company's biggest ever seller in its home country. The concept of having to capture 150 unique items, the Pokémon themselves, gave the game stickiness. Strategies and trading by connecting the two Game Boys together became a focal point in schoolyards, more so when it turned out there was a 151st Pokémon hidden in the game's code. That buzz led to an animated series being ordered, which began airing in 1997 and brought the characters and settings of the game to screens. About 1,200 episodes have now aired, nearly double that of The Simpsons. By 1998, with a few million more copies of the first Pokémon games sold for the Game Boy, Nintendo and Game Freak, which develops the Pokémon games, also wanted to launch them into the Western market. So they simultaneously exported the animated Pokémon TV show and the first English language release of the Game Boy games to the US to support each other, and released a new game, Pokémon Stadium, exclusively for the Nintendo 64 in Japan. Any Game Boy owners who wanted more Pokémon in their life would have to buy the company's other console. Both strategies were super effective. Pokémon Stadium sold 1 million copies in a month in Japan, becoming one of the best-selling games on the N64. It was also eventually released in the West, where the N64 sold better anyway, and where the simultaneous release of the English-language Pokémon game and companion TV series meant Pikachu and pals were impossible to ignore. Over the following 2 decades, the franchise has generated more than $90 billion according to some analysts. That's more than Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Mickey Mouse and Friends, despite the surreal nature of Pokémon's core characters. There is an underlying philosophy to many Pokémon, however, some admittedly more layered than others. I'm looking at you, Klefki. Take Magikarp here, whose overt lack of strength and skill is a consistent focus of mockery throughout the games and TV adaptations. It's the prototypical underdog though, and with patience and nurturing can evolve into Gyarados, the powerful behemoth of the sea. If a Magikarp was any of the floundering internet startups in the wake of the dot-com bubble, when Pokémon fever was truly in full swing worldwide, Gyarados would represent the one stock that survived and became Amazon.com. A whole subculture of fandom, merchandise, edible tributes, music videos, and more exist around just this one Pokémon and its unique lack of redeeming characteristics, and the same is true for many of the hundreds of other Pokémon, for as many reasons. Now, Pokémon's value can't be measured in the trillions of dollars like the aforementioned Amazon can, but for investors and executives alike, it's a brand that can do very little wrong, much like Nintendo itself. I wondered how much of Pokémon's success was down to the Pokémon Company, the parent of the franchise, and its tight relationship with Nintendo, which publishes most of its games. Here's Luke Westerway, an expert in all things Pokémon.
My gut instinct, to be honest, is to say that Nintendo got really, really lucky in picking up Pokémon and building that Pokémon alliance. Because although Pokémon is its own thing and is owned by the Pokémon Company, which is sort of independent from Nintendo, the two companies have been so deeply linked for so many years that when people think of Pokémon, they think of Nintendo consoles and vice versa. And that's really worked well for both companies.
There have now been dozens of Pokémon video games games, more than 20 feature films, over 1,000 episodes and counting of the anime, one stage musical, and thanks to the hundreds of individual Pokémon species, one of the most wide-ranging and successful collections of physical merchandise on the planet. There's always more to collect, whether that's a new game, a creature within it, or a DVD of a movie to own, but the ever-expanding universe is always presented with a sense that completion is achievable, and anything new still feels familiar.
But for me, the most impressive thing in Pokemon's whole series is actually Pokemon Go, which was, like all the most important and most impressive things in video games, a real crossover hit that broke out of the gaming world.
Released in 2016, Pokemon Go was still generating more than $900 million a year as recently as 2019, according to Sensor Tower, and in 2021 remains one of the most popular smartphone games in the world. Along with the success of movies like Detective Pikachu, there's little doubt that what started out life as a love letter to the joys of discovering insects in a pond will be with us for a good while yet. You can tell me which Pokemon or Pokemon game is the one that keeps you coming back in the comments on social media. I'll look forward to arguing with you about Love Disc there. For Quicktake in London, he's Bulbasaur, and I'm Nate Lanxon.